Welcome back, folks. So we're heading into our experts segment now on A Cup of Joe, and we have two interesting experts in the house this morning. It's a very serious issue that I myself getting and coming to grips with. It's the Eshe's Learning Center. Two lovely ladies from the Eshe's Learning Center. We have Denise Nurse Gomez with us, as well as Suzette Phillips, and it's all about understanding learning disabilities. Ladies, thanks so much for being here with us.
Thank you for having us.
Let's start with explaining what a learning disability is. Who wants to go at that?
Okay, I'll start. To be learning disabled, one has to have average to above average intelligence and yet experience difficulties in maybe one or two areas. So you may have a math issue, but really excel in language and any other area. So it's not that you are experiencing difficulties right around the curriculum.
Right.
It's focused on one area. So that you may be dyscalcular, where you're having math issues, dysgraphia, spelling issues. So it's all about one major issue area.
So Suzette, when your son, your daughter has an issue with math or with vocabulary, it's not necessarily that he's just there's an issue with him. Yeah, he just doesn't give in trouble. There's an issue with him.
What we advise parents to do is when they recognize that their child is having a difficulty, or a teacher might recognize that a child is struggling in a certain subject, we advise that the parents find a child psychologist who is recognized and is able to diagnose that child, and it will be able to give recommendations.
Right.
Following that, that's where issues come in.
Right.
So parents might call the school because they recognize that the school is their child probably struggling with an area, and we would advise them to find a recognized child psychologist and have them do an assessment.
So, and this is at the primary school level we're talking here?
Yes.
At the primary school level?
Yes.
If it is this first term, your child does not do well in math,
Okay.
do you panic at that moment, or do you allow some time? When is it time that, as a parent, you think, okay, I think he's having a problem in math?
Okay, if your child is at a, let's say, a first standard level, and they're not understanding work at a preschool level or at a, let's say, first year level, then it's time to
Then it's time. Ladies, can I offer you something to drink? This is such an intense discussion that I forgot to offer you something to drink. What can
I
I
have
get?
some orange juice. Thank
Orange
you.
I
juice.
have the same.
Orange juice. 2 orange juices, guys.
But there are some, if I can continue, there are some parents who, when their child is at the age of 3,
Yes.
they tend to panic. My child isn't writing, my child isn't reading like their brother read when they were at 3 or 2. And we advise parents, don't be too anxious, because a psychologist will not diagnose or do a psycho-ed for a child at 3. They may at 5 or 6.
We have qualified psychologists, child psychologists in the country that parents can
Limited,
go
but
to.
yes, we do.
Are they in the school system, in other words, or do you have to take them out of the school system and you have to take them out of the school system?
Most of the times.
Most
yes.
of the times, yeah. You sound like that's not the ideal situation. It's not.
It's not.
You would prefer the child psychologist to be part of the system.
On hand, yes.
Eshe's now would play the role of, let's get what Eshe's will do when this child will be taken out of the primary school system.
Yes, and enrolled
brought
at
to
Eshe's for remedial intervention.
Remedial intervention. Break that down for me in simple language.
Okay, what we do
Thank
is
you, Jana.
Thank you.
we fill the gaps that we see after we get a psycho-ed from the psychologist. It's called a psychoeducational assessment, what psychologist does. After we get that, we can tell from the child's scores where their areas of problem are. So that we then create a plan for that particular child, and we work with the recommendations of the psychologist and the guidelines of the Ministry of Education, because we are still a primary school. We follow the national curriculum. and we work with that child there.
Right, right. Let me just make it very clear in my mind, and for anyone who else has difficulty understanding, a child that is has a learning disability is not Down syndrome.
A Down syndrome child may have a learning disability,
right,
but not necessarily a Down syndrome child is not a learning disabled child.
Right, right. There's a distinct difference.
There is a difference.
Can this be corrected? In other words, the child comes to issues, weaken vocabulary. Can it be corrected, or will this child live with this for the rest of
yes.
Yeah.
For example, our founder, Dr. Eshe Lynch, is dyslexic. She will be dyslexic till she dies,
Right.
but she has formed little strategies that help her to cope with her area of weakness. Her handwriting, if I might say, Dr. Lynch, don't kill me, her handwriting is, you have to decipher it. So thank God for the computer.
Right.
Her spelling, spell check. Before we had all that, she would say, Denise, put this in good for me.
Right.
So there are strategies that you use to help fill those.
And would she have known that from a young age?
No, unfortunately,
I
no.
was not going to add, she's been beaten. She have broken beach.
Yeah.
She ran away from spelling on Fridays.
Right.
They wouldn't see her at school.
Yeah.
And all of those things, they would say she's done.
What's the detection rate now? Because that's a serious thing. Back then, what's the detection rate in terms of students, parents recognizing that their children are...
Right now, at Eshe's, there is a waiting list.
Right.
There is an influx of parents needing and wanting help. But unfortunately, she's just one school.
Yeah.
And we don't have the capacity for all these children because our classes are very small.
Wow.
The biggest class may be around 12 to 14 students.
Yeah.
And that's with an
assistant teacher.
Wow. Guys, you have a very important conference coming up. You're celebrating 30 years.
That's right.
Yeah, and you have a very important conference coming up. A look through the microscope, you're calling it. It's coming up on May 1st and 2nd. Tell me a little bit about it before we wrap.
Okay, it's about hidden disabilities. We want to make the public aware that there are hidden disabilities. You enter our school and most parents say, but they look normal. Because they are normal, except for the way their brain works. And we would like to expose the population to that fact. That yes, they are normal, but...
Yeah.
Because I have an example of one young man, he might look as tall as you are. And it's unfortunate because he is 12 and people judge him with the way he look.
Yeah.
Why you running like that? Big boy like you running like that? And it's very unfortunate that people wouldn't even say, well, maybe that's his cognitive level because he might be operating like an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what 8-year-old do. They run, they play, and boys will be boys.
Yeah.
And we have to respect that also. So there are times where our children, and even if you go to KFC and someone doesn't give you the right change, that might be someone who, I'm not saying that is everyone, but that might be someone who is trying to is diagnosed with a learning disability, and they're able to get a job. Right? But they have to, not always easy. It's not always easy for them to create a strategy for them to think on the spot.
Ladies, I want to thank you very much. This is very good information. And I just want to toss something in there. You know, I am a sport journalist by profession, and Andrew Lewis, I don't know, the young sailor, he actually revealed, I believe it was last year, that he has been dyslexic for some time, and I suppose coming to terms with it even in his young manhood, and he's a professional sailor and doing very, very well. So his parents is not to be fearful, I suppose, but it's just a matter of dealing with it. And Eshe's Learning Center is here. 2 experts in the house this morning. Thank you very much, ladies. And we are coming right back. The Hump Day Show continues here on A Cup of Joe.